Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. We will wait for a few more minutes again so that the maximum number of participants can join us, like 2 to 3 minutes, and then we can start. So I think now we will start. We have 31 participants. Welcome to our participant. Welcome to the webinar organized in cooperation with the GIZ in the framework of the Special Initiative on Training and Job Creation. My name is Khadija Mahmoudi, and I'm responsible for the Trade Fairs Department in the AHK. Before we start, I would like to give you more details about the program Invest for Jobs. The initiative was launched by the German government and is also known under the name Invest for Jobs. It is currently present in 7 partner countries in Africa, including Morocco. The initiative exists in Morocco since 2018 and is implemented by the Project Partnership and Support for Medium-Sized Enterprises of the GIZ. For more details, you can consolidate our fact sheet on the initiative that we will send you after the webinar, and which you can also find under the downloads of this webinar. The AHK Morocco is the official representative of 5 trade fairs organizers in Morocco, such as Messe München, Messe Berlin, Deutsche Messe, Köln Messe, and Messe Düsseldorf. We assist Moroccan visitors and exhibitors in their participation in trade fairs in Germany, as well as in German trade fair organized internationally. I am delighted to be your moderator to this webinar and to accompany you for the next hour. To moderate this webinar, I am pleased to welcome our expert, Mr. Jens Ullmann from Local Global Expert, and he's an expert in international business development from Germany. Before I give the floor to our speaker, a few words to the participant about how the webinar will run. After the presentation of Mr. Ullmann, a Q&A session will be organized. For this matters, all microphone and cameras of the participant are disabled to avoid disrupting the presentation. If you wish to ask a question or make a comment, the question and chat tabs are at your disposal. You can ask your question in French also. We will take care of translating it to our speaker. The AHK team will respond to you instantly, and I will read your question aloud to our expert at the end of the session so he can give you a response. Thank you for your attention. Before I give the floor to Mr. Ullmann, he would like to ask you some questions beforehand to know more about you. So we will start right now a small survey that I invite you to participate to. So we have our first question. Have you ever participated in a German trade fair? Yes, in a German trade fair. So I will run it. So I invite you to click to the response you have as exhibitor or as a visitor or not at all. I will give you 20 seconds to respond. Okay, so I will close now the survey. For the first question, we have 22% who participated as exhibitor, 41% as visitor, and the rest 37% not at all. So we will go then to the second question. Were you satisfied with your participation? So you can select yes or no. I will give you again 20 seconds. Okay, so now I will close the second question. So I'm happy to see the results. 97% are happy with their participation and only 4% they're not happy. We will see the 4% why during this presentation. So we will go then for the third question. What was most challenging for exhibitors? So you have 4 answers: preparation, attract visitors, convert contacts into leads, or other. So you have again 20 seconds to respond. So now I can close this question. So 43% it's converting contacts into leads, 90% for preparation and for attracting visitors, and 19% other. Okay, we will go then for the fourth question. What was most challenging for visitors? Overload of impression information, getting in closer touch with partners or suppliers, planning the trade fair tour, or other? So now I will close the last question. So the results, 33% was getting in closer touch with partners or suppliers, the same percentage for planning the trade fair tour, and then 22% overload of impressions and information, and then 11% for other. I will keep the last question for at the end of the webinar. So now we will continue our webinar. So now I invite Mr. Ullman to take the floor and to start his presentation.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Mahmoudi. Hello, everybody from Potsdam, which I shall say is a smaller but more beautiful sister of Berlin. So, unfortunately, my now it's to be seen again.
Now it's good.
Now it's good. Okay. So I told you about Potsdam, which is a smaller but beautiful sister of Berlin. Who has not been here, I shall invite you to see that very nice town. Besides, we have the German Chancellor living and working also in Potsdam, and Minister of Foreign Affairs, Mrs. Baerbock, is also a Potsdamer. So as it was in history, now in Potsdam, the governmental officials are living and of course working in Berlin. But that I don't want to talk in detail. What I wanted to talk together with the HK and the GIZ is how to be successful on German trade fairs. And as we saw in the surveys and in the results of the surveys, there are some challenges to face. To be successful, of course, everybody have heard of German fairs and on the reach of German fairs, of the global reach of German fairs, but how to make use of that tool in the best and the most effective way. That's the subject of our today's webinar, and of course of the handbook we produced together with AHK and GIZ for participants as well for exhibitors, as for visitors, and also for organizers of joint official pavilions. So we think that there is a need for having an instruction, a kind of an instruction manual. Thank you, Mrs. Mahmoudi, for introducing me in a short way. So I'm Jens Ullmann. Since 1991, I'm working with exhibitions, trade shows, trade fairs, especially in Germany. Why is that? That's because 65% of the world leading trade shows in the respective sectors are taking place in Germany. That's because of the market, of course. Germany is the biggest and the strongest economy in Europe. And that's, of course, because of the globalized German economy. So Germany has many links all over the world, and so have a global reach of its economy. And last not least, it's because of the very excellent exhibition and trade show infrastructure we see in Germany. Mrs. Mahmoudi has already touched most important places and locations for trade shows as Berlin, Düsseldorf, Cologne, Hanover, Munich. So the name of my company, Local Global Expert, is a program. So I think today we need to think globally and to act locally. So global business is transferred or is materialized in local environments. And of course, to speak about exhibitions and trade shows, it's a matter of heart. Why I'm saying that? So from my experience, there are two kinds of people. The first kind is loving trade fairs, and the second kind, it's not loving trade fairs. So we try to get a bigger portion of people using that very effective tool for trade shows. What is our agenda for today? What are the key topics? First, I would say something about the actual situation in the trade fair market in Germany. and I try to give you some trends and perspective in a very complicated environment. Then I would point out some major issues. What shall be done before trade fair? That is about preparation. That's about in-time preparation. And of course, that's about in a very thorough preparation. Then we will switch over what happens and shall happen when we are at the trade fair. What can be done to be most effective? What can be done to prepare with the trade show participation that I will get most of contacts, and I will be able to transfer those contacts also into sustainable leads. And of course, last but not least, we will speak about the follow-up. What shall be done after a trade show? Everybody knows being at the trade fair, that means 1 week of very intensive hard work. And coming back to the office, there's work overload waiting for everybody. And in parallel, we shall make the follow-up for trade fair. That's a big challenge, and how to cope with that challenge, I will speak later. German trade fairs, what's the situation? Well, we in the last 2 years during the Corona pandemic situation, we saw that in Germany, where I told you that 65% of the worldwide leading trade shows are taking place, 75% of the trade shows were cancelled or had to be cancelled. That means that they had to be cancelled for trade shows being held physically or being held in person. So many trade shows try to switch over to digital formats. Some did in a very excellent way. Some did, let's say, not so successful. But anyway, we saw the result that there is no real alternative to physical trade shows. There is no digital tool which can enable us to see the advantages of a real physical trade fairs. Well, at the same time, of course, markets are developing. Unfortunately, my presentation is fading away. I'm sorry for that. New markets are developing. That's a normal case all over the world over the years. We see that, for example, electronics and IT and technology solutions have developed. New markets came into existence. And with those new markets and new trends, also new trade shows came into existence. That means that we shall observe the markets very thoroughly and follow the trends also in the trade show market. It was just before our webinar that we discussed with Mrs. Mahmoudi that now a new trend is decarbonization. It's a global trend. And many of the German exhibitions and trade shows are taking that subject. That is true for, let's say, the biggest industrial fair in the world, that's Hanover Fair. But that's also true for specialized trade shows, for example, in Düsseldorf where the Energy Storage Europe, the former Energy Storage Europe, was converted into the Decarbonization Expo. So markets are changing, and trade shows do as well. Of course, trade fairs become more digital. That's independent from the situation, the Corona situation at the moment. So my perception is that in future we will have more digital tools that will enlarge the real physical trade shows, and they will have, of course, a more regional reach. What is changing from the organizer's perspective? Well, the organizers in the past have to rent fair area to exhibitors. That was the biggest portion of income for organizers. But in our times, it will be not enough to rent the space to exhibitors. The more important will be to establish a platform, a very effective platform for business matchings and business contacts, so to say, for leads. I also see from my personal perspective that trade shows will be more comprehensive, will become smaller, more regional, and not so global as we thought in the past. And of course, less exhibitors and less visitors. That means also that the preparations from the exhibitors as well as from the visitors' perspective shall be more thorough and more effective. And we see, last but not least, the trend that content is king. So, of course, an exhibition is also an event. It's also a show. That's a call for action. But without content, it is not possible to draw the attention of the visitors to the offer of the exhibitor. Well, if you have questions to certain subjects or if you have an opinion, please feel free to write your remark in the chat, and we will have, as Mrs. Mahmoudi announced already, the opportunity to discuss it in the Q&A section of our webinar. Now let's come to the issue of preparation. That means what I shall do before trade fair. And the most important thing is to be prepared as good as possible and as early as possible. That's very important. From my perspective, the decision to take part in an exhibition is becoming more and more short-termed. But that's not good for preparation, because preparation needs time. And if we wasted that time in making the application later than necessary, then I waste that preparational time, and I can't prepare as good as possible and as good as it shall be. Well, what shall be done in detail. First of all, I shall say that trade show participations are very huge investments. And to get most of that investment, you shall take enough care and take enough care, especially for preparation. The first, before I make the application, is that I invest some time in the issue of choosing the right trade fair. It is not everything a good idea to go at the biggest global trade fair in one sector as a first step. Well, as I do it when I will enter new markets, I shall also do the same for entering a new trade show. I shall do some market research and market analysis. I shall look for where are my markets, my actual markets, and where are the markets I want to step in. And then I shall look for the right trade fair where I can meet customers, actors, companies, being in that trade show and being my target group for new markets. So a good idea is also, before I decide to exhibit in a trade show, which I don't know before, that I shall visit the trade show. That will be the first step. In our guide, I spoke about the step-by-step approach. So first step, to do market research by public databases, public available databases, as the Association of German Trade Shows, AUMA, provided. We shall give you the web address so that you will be able to do it yourself in looking for the right trade show. So there are many specialized trade shows where you can find the nearest sector which is interesting for you. I will give you an example. The example of elementary of goods and foods. So there are plenty of exhibitions. Of course, Anuga Cologne is the biggest one. In Anuga, you find everything which is about food. But of course, it's a very, very, very big show, and there are more specialized foods shows for specialized food. For example, ISM, which is specialized in sweets, or Fruit Logistica, which is specialized in fruits or vegetables, or let's say Pro Wine, which is specialized in wine beverages. So please be careful and look what is the best suitable trade show for your exhibition and market targets. Well, the second thing in preparation is registration or application, and you shall do it in time. To give you a rough timetable, I would advise to register, let's say, 12 up to 6 months at latest before a trade show. Please be also attentive what is about early bird discounts or follow-up exhibitor discounts, or let's say discounts regarding also area. It's not only about to save money for early bird registration, that is also especially about that you have more time for preparation. And it's about that you have a longer presence in the exhibitor's directory as the exhibitor, with your products, with your product groups, with your company, company presentation, with product pictures, and also product videos. We will come to that later on. Well, the third question in preparation is about the decision to be an individual exhibitor with an own stand, which is usually a very small area. So when I think about the company having 50 up to 100 employees, that means a medium-sized company. That company, because of the huge investment to be taken, is not able to have a stand of several hundreds of square meters. So it will have a stand, let's say, of 20 square meters and 20 square meters in an overall exhibition area of, let's say, 150,000 square meters with 12 or more than 20 halls in an exhibition area at the fairgrounds. That is very challenging to draw the attention of the visitors. So maybe it's a good idea to change from an individual stand to a joint participation. Those joint participations or official pavilions are organized and offered by organizations as AMDI and others, so that I can join forces with other exhibitors, present the country, and have a bigger area and draw more attention of the visitors. If such an official participation for the respective trade fair I have in mind is not offered, so I can think about the issue if I join forces with partner companies. So partner companies from the same country, from the same region, or let's say from parallel sectors, not being competitors. I can make a group participation with those companies, or I can join a bigger exhibitor for being a co-exhibitor at a space, and so having a bigger area together on the exhibition and draw better attention of the visitors. Well, the thing in preparation is the planning. You shall plan your participation in time, as I said it before, and very carefully. That's about budget, and that's about time. Let's come to budget. Let's say 1/3 of the cost you have in an exhibition, it's about area. That means if you are registering or applicating for a trade show, you see the prices which is necessary for renting the area, and that price you have will be nearly 1/3, about 1/3 of the overall cost. That's let's say, value or a number of experience. It's only roughly speaking. As I told you, what is concerned for time, you shall start with your preparations nearly 1 year or 12 months before the trade show is starting. Well, the second thing is when you have chosen the exhibition, that you think about what you would like to show, what you would like to present, what exhibits, what products, and in the second drawer, how to package it. Of course, the most important thing are your products you want to sell and you want to present. But the second important thing is how to present those things, in which environment, which design you choose, which graphic you use. Not to be forget, you shall also care about visa and accommodation. That's also very important. It's not a problem to get that. Maybe at the moment being in the situation of corona pandemic, you have some challenges in getting visa, but in normal times, if you do it in time, it's not a problem. More challenging is how to organize to attract visitors, and there are several tools you shall observe. And last not least, you shall also plan some action or exhibition highlights for attracting the special attention of your visitors and customers. Let's come to the issue of data analytics. I already mentioned the Association of German Trade Shows, AUMA, which is offering a comprehensive database for German trade shows, but also international trade shows taking place abroad. And you have the opportunity to find the right trade show according to your search criteria, but you have also the chance to get some very interesting data. Here you see the data of Anuga, the biggest trade show in food industry in the world, and you see the figures of 2015, 2017, and 2019 in comparison. You see the net space of the overall exhibition. You see that nearly 8,000 exhibitors took part in Anuga 2019. And you see that it is a very international exhibition. That means only 750 exhibitors are coming from Germany, but more than 7,000 exhibitors are coming from abroad. And the same is true also for the exhibitors side. So besides the numbers of the visitors and exhibitors, you have some interesting insights also on the economic sector where the visitors are coming from. Here you see that the biggest portion is coming from wholesale trade. This portion is coming from retail trade, and the portion of the biggest players in the retail, that means the retail chains, only form 1% of the trade show visitors. So that's important to know for preparing the trade show, also in a respect to attract the right visitors. You see also the portion of commercial agents, and you see the portion of import-export visitor representatives. And you see that also a major portion of the visitors are coming from other industries. That means they are interested in looking at the trade show for new trends, new perspective, new technologies, new products. That's also very important target of taking part in the trade show as a visitor. Very interesting is also the size of the company. You see that most of the visitors are representing companies which are of medium size. So let's say nearly 50% of the visitors are coming from medium-sized business. Let me point out finally in that respect that the visitors 60% of the visitors are coming first time to Anuga. That's a very interesting person. Only 1/3 of the visitors have taken part in earlier event, and 1/3 has taken part in the previous event. That's also very important to know. And you have more figures you can make use of. Well, as I told you, the most important thing that, when preparing a stand and planning a stand is to have an idea what I wanted to show, which exhibits and which exhibit you are putting in the center. It shall be connected with a unique selling proposition of your company. With the best products you have to offer, with the bestseller. And the issue is that you shall know that products. And please be cautious and not presenting every product you have in your product range, but concentrate on the most important one, on the most attractive ones. The other products, of course, you will sell at sight, but in the center, you shall put the most attractive. So you shall have that bright idea, which is drawing the attention of your visitors. And then you are thinking about how you put that bright idea into reality. Here you have some examples of different companies, how one can do that. For example, the company Tesla, of course, the Tesla, it's a trademark, and the Tesla here is in the center of the presentation. Here you have the logo, and here you have a light putting the Tesla in the center of the presentation. If we come back to food industry, here you have a picture from Anuga, where exhibitor from fish, from seafood, is putting a hologram of a fish in the center of his presentation. So, of course, the company is offering fresh and high quality seafood. So it makes sense to put a fish in the center of the presentation. And the challenge is how to present that fish. And of course, that company had a good idea to make a hologram, which is drawing the attention of the visitors. Here, last, I want to point out at the exhibitor of Biofach in Nuremberg. The exhibitor is following a trend. It's called unpacked, that you are offering food which are not packed in plastic packagings. So it's, let's say, bulk food. And in the center of the presentation is the food which is unpacked. So think about that. It's very important to know. Let's come to the next issues, which is about to attract your visitors. And you shall put most attention on that issue. And you start with attracting your visitors, as I told you before, in making your exhibition application as early as possible, to have a long time to be in the exhibitors directory or exhibitors media of a certain given trade show. Please be carefully complete your entry, make it complete. So don't forget to put the persons in charge, the contact persons. Don't forget to put the address details, the email address, the phone number, not only the central phone number, but also the phone number of the persons being responsible for sales or marketing. You shall line your company to the respective product groups. Please select as many product groups as possible and as applicable. Please fill in all free spaces for products. Describe those products in a very proper and attractive way. Put very attractive photos and videos in the exhibitors directory. It will help you to attract the visitors. And of course, when making the application to a trade show or receiving your stand approval, please put an information on your own website that you are taking part in the exhibition, that you are showing special products, that you are making some special attractions, who will be on the trade show, and what actions you undertake in preparing that trade show. That shall be done, let's say, 6 months before the trade show is starting. Second thing is direct marketing or direct mailing. Please be cautious in doing research work on the personal address data of your customers, of your existing customers. They shall be up to date. Second, please find the address and contact details of potential customers. There you can use databases. Some are free of charge, some not, as LinkedIn, as DNB, and others that you will be able, or you use World Wide Web and to find potential customers. When you've found the data, then you shall make a direct mailing. You can do it, of course, via email, but please note that there's an overload of emails. So maybe it's a good idea to switch over to postal mailings, so the classical postal mailings, that you will be one of the few using postal mailings for putting the attraction of the visitors. Please make a multi-level direct mailing. First information where you inform that you are taking part. A second information where you inform your customers what action you are undertaking, what attractions you have. And please also in the second mailing call to action. That means that your visitors will have a chance to organize a meeting with you, propose a date or a time for a meeting, and that you get some response. And maybe you make a third mailing where you are informing that now, let's say 1 week is left, and the visitors shall inquire a meeting date. Please connect also the social media into your visitors' attraction activities. Find out what the right social medias for your sector are. That might be LinkedIn, that might be Twitter, that might be Instagram, that might be YouTube. Please find out where your customers, which social media, social business media your customers are using, where they are to be found. You shall put your company into social media beforehand. You shall organize a network beforehand, and that you are able to use that network to inform the audience and your potential visitors, let's say also 6 weeks before the trade show, and then it's necessary to post or to make, let's say in every week, at minimum 2 postings where you are introducing to attractions or informing about your presentation. Try storytelling. So besides hardware, of course, we needed a committed people. That means that you need a stand crew which is very committed and well selected. They shall have motivation, of course. They shall love exhibitions. They shall have technical knowledge. They shall have also decision competencies. They shall have a contact network. They shall be open-minded. Unfortunately, I'm running out of time. That's why I'm rushing through now. Please be also cautious that you shall have a portion of the team which is company staff, and a portion which is a third-party service staff. That means translators, service personnel for offering the food or for cleaning the stand, and so on. For your own company crew, you shall have some training to train the crew how to approach the visitors in the right moment, and anyway to approach it. Did you know that 70% of stand visitors are not approached at all? So those are lost contacts. And it is not approached because there's an overload or of people coming to the stand, or the stand crew is busy with other customers. So you shall think about and find solutions to approach visitors which are interested in your stand and which you didn't speak now at the fair. Please don't come to the exhibition grounds in the last minute. You shall be also 2 days before of the trade show at the location. During the setup day, you shall be, let's say, at 9 or 10 o'clock at the exhibition. You shall check the arrangements, test the technical equipment, contact the service center, the hall inspector, the project team in person. And then you shall also brief the service staff of your stand. And most of the exhibitions are organizing in the evening of the setup day an official opening where you shall take part, and that is the first chance to have supplementary contacts with other exhibitors or also visitors or very interesting people. So you can also arrange additional meetings for the fair. The first day, please come as early as possible because most of the bigger exhibition fairgrounds, you have a rush hour. So be cautious on arriving 1 or 2 hours before the exhibition is starting. Make a last check on stand cleaning, on the stand appearance, on the graphics and the technical operations. Take also care of the small things as visiting cards, of reporting sheets, of brochures and so on, and make a kickoff briefing and official stand opening. At the end of the first day and also the other days, please make a debriefing. Be also cautious on the last day. The last exhibition day, it's a normal exhibition day. Also, when minor visitors will visit your exhibition stand, it's very important to be till the last minute of the exhibition active and prepared and attentive to the visitors. In some exhibition, I experienced that some very, very interesting visitors have come in the last minute of the exhibition because they didn't have time to visit the stand before, because they have an own stand. Please write very thoroughly the minutes of the talks with visitors. You have some examples in the trade fair guide. You shall adapt it to your needs, but anyway, you shall have the contact details and the content of the talk that you will be able to remind it after the show when doing the follow-up. So my last subject is the follow-up. You shall do it anyway. Also, if you have a work overload when you are coming back to your office, you shall do it in time and let's say short after the trade show, at latest 4 weeks after the trade show, the follow-up actions shall be finished. Take the basis of your notes and minutes, approach the visitors, but also those interesting contacts which not visited your stand. And please, for the visitors you have spoken to, make an individual approach after the trade show to make the individual follow-up for their interests, for their questions, for their needs. So it's not very useful to only write the visitors, thank you for visiting our stand. Again, I will send you our brochure, and I would be very excited if we could enter into business relations. That's definitely not enough. you must be more detailed and more thoroughly. And the basis of doing those follow-up actions are the notes you made during the fair. Last but not least, do some success control. Define the cost-benefit ratio of your exhibition participation. Define the cost per lead compared with classical tools of marketing activities you have. And then please decide in time to be at the follow-up exhibition again. You shall know that one time is no time. That means that, to my experience, it is necessary to take part in one and the same exhibition 3 times before having, let's say, a good basis for realizing business contacts or business leads. Well, there's no alternative to a real in-person physical trade show. I think the Messe Düsseldorf has put it into very inspiring words. You can look it up after. I think that lovers of trade shows know that. And a trade show is a feeling approaching all senses of a human being. That means eyes, ears, hands, personal relations that could be done in a digital way at all. And finally, let's hope that in 2022, we will have the occasion to see crowded masses on German trade fairs and to meet in person and get new inspiration for our business and to see very successful meetings in the future. Thank you very much for your attention. Now I'm open for your questions, and I'm sorry for the delay, so being a bit later than planned in my presentation. Thank you. I'm getting back to Mrs. Mahmoudi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Uman, for your insights and for your valuable suggestion. Before we go to the question, we have one last question in our survey that I will ask. So the last question was, will you participate in a German trade fair within the next 2 years? I will then run it. So will you participate as a visitor, as an exhibitor, or not at all? Please select your answer. You have 20 seconds. Okay, so now I will close the last question in our survey, and then I will share the results. So as you can see, 48% as visitor, 40% as exhibitor, and 12 not at all. So what do you think, Mr. Uman? I think it's good that we have this percentage, especially for exhibitors. And please get in touch with me if you have any question for either participation as visitor or exhibitor. We are really here to answer all your remarks or your questions.
So I think, Ms. Mahmoudi, thank you very much. So we have the share of people which have or participants of our webinar which have been as an exhibitor on a German trade show that were 22%, and now we have the intention of 40% to take part as an exhibitor. Yeah. And I think that's a very good starting point for your operational activities at the chamber, at the German-Moroccan chamber in Casablanca.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So now we will start the Q&A session. So the first question is, we would like to participate on Food Logistica next April from 5th to 7th. And we ask on how can we find some translator from French to German language and how much cost us. Please, Mr. Ullman, allow me to respond to this question in French if it's possible, so it's really clear. Si vous voulez participer pour le salon Free Logistica, ça sera effectivement en mois d'avril, durant le mois de Ramadan. Concernant, si vous voulez participer en tant qu'exposant, vous avez la possibilité de commander un translator dans l'espace réservé aux exposants. Sinon, pour les visiteurs, je pense que 99% des exposants parlent anglais, donc je ne pense pas que ça sera un souci pour vous pour l'allemand. Donc voilà. Mr. Ullman, if you have anything to add, please.
Yes, I try to add, of course, you're right, Ms. Mahmoudi, in your answer. But I shall say it's not so much about having in the first instance the translator, but maybe you have some support in preparing the trade show participation Food Logistica in the respect of attracting the right visitors. And
Okay.
if you are targeting, let's say, German customers, of course, most of the wholesale or retail traders in fruit and vegetables are speaking English. You are completely right. That it's most about to get into touch with new potential customers before the trade show, that you can plan already meetings before the trade show. I think also that the translation is not the biggest problem. It's a nice to have, of course, if you have somebody who can approach German-speaking visitors in their home language, but it's not a must. You can also speak in English, so it's not the very crucial thing. The more crucial thing would be to approach potential customers before the exhibition and attract them as visitors.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ullman. We have a second question. When you say that new markets are developing and changing, do you mean from your experience of the virtual and hybrid format? Can it be a good alternative for you?
Well, at the moment being, it's the only alternative. So if real in-person and physical trade shows are not able to take place and international visitors are not able to come in person to trade shows, there is no alternative to digital. But that I didn't have in mind when I was speaking about new markets. That's aside from the pandemic situation. I think I put some examples, as I mentioned, the hydrogen issue or the decarbonization issue. There are more issues as solar industries. We have seen a completely new exhibition of solar industries. Nowadays, it's already, let's say, 20 years ago when those new exhibitions came into existence. Before they were a part of the electronics exhibition. So the solar technology was a part of electronics. And after the trend of towards solar energy generation, a new specialized exhibition for solar industry came into existence.
Okay.
And that's also true for other subjects. So there is an permanent change according to technological trends, also in the trade show landscape.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Uman. Another third question, maybe. It will be our first visit to Germany, and as exhibitor, how can we get our chance to succeed our participants as grower and exporter of melon and watermelons? Do you see that's very important to learn German language, A1 before participation? Yes, as we already answered this question, it's not really necessary to have a degree in German language, but yeah, 100% of the exhibitors and most of the visitors speak English too, and also some percentage they speak French. So I think
yes,
we are good in.
may
Yeah,
I
of course.
ask a counter question?
Yeah.
I expect that the company asking that, or the person asking that, is targeting at Fruit Logistica.
Exactly. So yeah, if sorry.
And the second question would be if they have already visited sometimes before Fruit Logistica.
Okay, I think I will get more information after the webinar because he didn't say anything about it. But as you are in this sector, I think Food Logistica is the right trade fair for you. I will get in touch with the person who asked this question, and I will send him more information about this trade fair.
Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Uman.
and I shall repeat that it is not the most important thing to learn German language or to have a translator for German language, but to be very careful for preparing the first exhibition as far as visitors attraction and also stand design and stand planning is concerned.
Okay. Thank you. So another question, according to your experience, what is the most interesting tourism fair in Germany? I can already reply to this question. We have, we are representing Messe Berlin and Messe München. With Messe Berlin, we have ITB Berlin in March. But this year the date has been postponed, and we have also FREE in München. I think we have two big Moroccan pavilion in these two trade shows, and I think they are one of the most interesting tourism fair in Germany. If you have any other trade fair, Mr. Uman, that I missed, please correct me or add anything.
Well, of course, I completely agree with your proposals, and those are the most important and biggest trade shows. But as I mentioned in the beginning of my presentation, maybe it can be also a good idea to look into regional markets. So I don't know what size the company has and what quantity of visitors, of potential tourists it's addressing. But sometimes we can also do some market research as far as where are the visitors or the tourists are coming from. Are coming from, let's say, Bavaria, North Rhine-Westphalia, or Berlin?
Yes.
So it might be useful to take part in a trade show or in an event in Bavaria or North Rhine-Westphalia, which is smaller than ITB, which is not so cost intensive, and which is more targeting at the target group, so addressing the target group more directly.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Ullman. As we are running of time, for the other question, I will take care of answering all the questions by email. Please send me all your comments. I will put my email address into the chat. So thank you very much, Mr. Ullman, for your insights and for your valuable question and remarks. I invite participants to contact the AHACA Morocco to ask questions that could not be answered during this webinar. I would also like to inform our listeners that you can watch the AHACA Morocco webinars on our YouTube channel. We will also send the trade fair guide that we have prepared for you in a French language to all participants, and you can also find it on our AHACA website and also in the section of documents. I also invite you to follow us on our social networks in order to not miss any news or events that we organize. I would like to thank again Mr. Ullman for his valuable advice on how to participate successfully to a trade fair, and all the participants for listening. Thank you very much, and looking forward to seeing you in a future webinar. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. À
Thank
bientôt.
you.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Bye-bye.